When the Potato Masher project started about 6 years ago, I told you all I was going to compare a budget PC and a PS4 for the rest of the PS4's life cycle. I've dropped off almost entirely in the last 2 years, and I'll cover that more in my series finale video, but I can't think of a more fitting game to be the final comparison than Cyberpunk 2077. Initially, I wasn't going to bother comparing the two because the PS4 version runs so terribly, but then I decided it was a good look into what I think is the more important conversation at this point in a console's life cycle, so this is going to be a more casually edited conversational video. I don't think my normal production value is necessary for this, and honestly not many people are going to see this due to the YouTube algorithm, so instead of continuing to put this video off like I have for the last month, let's just get into it and bear with me. Yeah, so you're all aware the PS4 version runs horribly, duh. I'm not going to get too deep into my overall thoughts about the quality of the game itself, other than to say I'm really enjoying it, but it's obvious that it never should have launched on the last gen consoles, and I think the same standard applies to the Potato Masher. For anyone who missed all the good videos in this series, and are only coming on board for this, likely the laziest and worst one, the Potato Masher is an i5 950, 8GB of DDR3 RAM GTX 760 machine that I built to show that you can have a console-like or better gaming experience for similar money. Yes, largely that's been true over the last 6 years, and it's true with all of the downsides right now. Yes, technically the Potato Masher can play Cyberpunk 2077. And when I was younger and was gaming on hand-me-down hardware, there are plenty of games I would suffer through at low resolutions and sub 30 FPS because I wanted to play it that bad. If you're in the same boat, yeah, you can probably play and enjoy this game, but for anyone who has 1080p and a locked 30 FPS as your minimum acceptable standard for modern gaming, neither the Potato Masher or PS4 can do it. You'll see in these few comparisons that the PS4 does have better shadows and the rest of the footage is pretty similar. I didn't try to match PS4 settings or anything, I just tried to get the Masher to run the game, period, so it ends up looking a little worse than the PS4, but actually running quite a bit better. Here's the PS4 running what has to be in the high teens or low 20s driving through Night City, where the Potato Masher can normally maintain 30 FPS with a few high 20s dips, so I guess it's better than the PS4. It's certainly less buggy, but that's a low bar to clear, and I still wouldn't say it's great. Really, if you're seriously considering this, it's out of desperation, and I don't mean that in a bad way, it's just where we're at now. If I could recommend anything, it'd be to wait to play the game until it gets more patches, more DLC, and you have better hardware. The game will probably still struggle some even then. Here you can see me running it on my RTX 3090 at 4K and mostly high settings with ray tracing and DLSS enabled, and I'm still getting in the 40s driving around town sometimes in hard scenarios where there's like a bunch of rain and lights, and then I get a locked 60 in most other scenarios. The game looks so much better than the PS4 or Potato Masher versions that it's hard to recommend playing such a compromised experience. Night City's art direction and asset quality is honestly astounding most of the time, and it's one of the most beautifully rendered game worlds I've ever seen. And the idea that you're going to miss all of that just so you can play through a half-decent story and pretty good combat at 30 FPS is a tough pill to swallow. I don't know that I'd do it, and that brings me to the main point that I wanted to make in this video. Both the Potato Masher and PS4 are relics now, kinda like this channel. Sure, they still play new indies and quite a few new releases without major issues, but they're not able to deliver the AAA gaming experiences you saw at the beginning of this series. Time moves on for all of us, and every generation we get to this point where the once shiny flagships struggle to function and we all look wistfully at new releases and dream about seeing them the way they're meant to be played. But put it in perspective. If you'd bought every game I've reviewed during this series, you're looking at literally thousands of dollars of games on a $350 collection of hardware. Same for the PS4. And there are still hundreds of games from this past generation that look great and run really well that I haven't played yet, and they're very cheap these days, and you could keep all this hardware and enjoy them. It would still run all of them perfectly fine. These machines aren't failures, they're just at the point where they can't keep up. Cyberpunk is a high watermark for art direction and a low watermark for the end of the console lifecycle optimization, but it's also just the first in a new wave of next-gen experiences that are going to leave these machines behind. The PS4 and the Potato Masher have nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm not declaring a winner here, and I'll get into more detail in the series finale video, but should you play Cyberpunk on a machine like the Potato Masher? I don't think so, but if that's all you've got and you're excited, this creaky old relic still has it in it. Just barely.